about protecting families from reckless big banks, their plan is simply
repeal Dodd-Frank.
And while trickle-down economics has made us all weary, the Republicans offer
the same supply-side economic theory.
Who's right in Whoville? Hillary Clinton's campaign, which you just saw mocking Republicans as Grinches, or Republicans trying to knock down her economic policies? Hi, everybody. I'm David Asman. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. Let's go in focus to find out with Steve Forbes, Rich Karlgaard, Mike Ozanian, Kerry Sheffield, John Tamney, and Bruce Japsen. So, Steve, who's the Grinch here?
Hillary's the real Grinch, and so is her boss. They both deserve lumps of coal for the war against hydrocarbons. They lied to us like naughty little boys and girls about keeping your doctor and keeping your insurance. They've given us higher deductibles and higher medical expenses. They've given us the worst recovery from a sharp downturn in American history with higher taxes, big spending, and wrecking the dollar. So I think that deserves a mammoth lump of coal.
All right, well, Bruce, Ted Cruz also took a page from Dr. Seuss. Let's just play his soundbite on Dr. Seuss and get your reaction.
The whole family will enjoy reading stories like The Grinch, Who Lost Her Emails.
I know just what I'll do, she said with a snicker. I'll use my own server, and no one will be the wiser.
Okay, that was the Cruz children, by the way. What do you think?
I think that one of the parts of the ads Cruz talks about is proven record. His proven record is he's done nothing. But the Republicans only want to steal the packages. They don't want to offer up any replacements, so the poor Who's would just be isolated in Whoville with a big wall around the town.
Well, Mike, the Republicans do have tax-cutting policies, and after all, if you really want to help everyone, as we saw back with the Reagan administration, during their period of tax rate cuts across the board, look what happened. The top 20% did great. They gained 12% in real income, but the bottom 20% also gained about 12% in income. If you want to raise all boats, cut all taxes.
What that showed, David, was that incentives do indeed matter. But as far as Ted Cruz in particular is concerned, he's the only Republican, and he's separating himself from the other Republicans when it comes to spending. He voted against that draconian $1.8 billion tax and spending bill that Rubio didn't even show up for. And that government spending, that's what robs the middle class.
Well, John, he makes a great point, Mike does, about spending. After all, G.W. Bush spent a lot of money. Not as much as President Obama did, but he spent a lot of money. And the GOP just passed this big new spending bill.
Yeah, it's got to be remembered that government is the big prosperity-killing tax, and so we want to shrink it. And overall, I'd give Republicans credit. They're seeking tax reform. They want to neuter the Fed a little bit, but they weaken their pro-growth message when they want to make the world's problems our bloody and very expensive ones. They also weaken their growth message when they want to keep out the very immigrants who drive prosperity because they bring ambition into the country.
But, Kerry, here's what bothers me about the Democratic version of Grinch, if you will, is that they talk about the government giving everything, and the Republicans want to take everything. In fact, the government doesn't give anything. The government takes, and then the government redistributes what it takes.
You're right.
They're more like the Grinch than Santa.
You're absolutely right. They don't actually make real Christmas presents. They just steal them from other people and redistribute it. As Margaret Thatcher always said, the problem with socialism is at some point you run out of other people's money. And let's look at the facts. The OECD median income is 42% lower versus American median income. Hillary is the real Grinch. She wants to make America poorer and less prosperous.
Rich, who's the Grinch here?
Oh, my God. Hillary's the Grinch and Obama's the Grinch. Whoville is about $2 trillion short of where it should be because of 8 years, what will end up being 8 years of Obama's 2% growth economy. We should be growing at 3.5. You multiply that times the size of our economy, and that's about $2 trillion that Whoville does not have.
And, Steve, the idea of the government, I want to get back to the idea of the government giving everything. Do the American public get it that the government doesn't give you anything? The government takes, and then the government redistributes what it takes.
Yeah, a lot of people still aren't onto the racket. They take $1 out of your pocket, give you 50 cents back, and you're supposed to be grateful for it. The American people are the producers, as has been pointed out by John and others. Government can take, redistribute, and things like that, but it can't create real resources.
Bruce, you got to agree with that, don't you?
Well, I would say that, you know, in the case of the immigration, we don't have a path to citizenship, and we don't have a legislation
But Bruce,
from the
I'm talking
Republicans
about
to do
the
that.
government saying, or the Democrats saying that government can give you this, government can give you that, but the government doesn't give anything. It takes, and then it redistributes.
Well, I would just say that, you know, it is what it is. I mean, the Republicans they're not offering any other solutions.
Yes, okay.
They're not offering any solutions.
Hold on. Wait, let him finish. Go ahead, Bruce.
They're not offering any solutions.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Well, it takes from future
saying,
generations. It takes from my generation. That's what happens.
Well, the immigration bill doesn't do that. The immigration bill doesn't do that because it would make them pay taxes.
One at a time. Go ahead. Talk about immigration, Bruce.
Okay, the immigration bill doesn't do that because it would put these folks on a path to citizenship, and they would pay taxes. They're already earning money here, and then that would help pay down the deficit.
Okay, go ahead, Carrie.
Well, when Barack Obama leaves office, we're going to have $20 trillion in debt. That's more than all presidents combined previous to him. That's taking from my generation. That is such the biggest Grinch in our American history.
Mike, go ahead.
And to your question, David, you said, do the American people get it? They do indeed get it, which is why Ted Cruz is doing very well. He voted against that bill. He's not for robbing our children and grandchildren. Jeb Bush, a big government guy, big spending guy, in bed with the special interests. He's down in the polls. The American people get it.
John, do you agree?
David, you hit it on the head when you made the essential point that government has no resources. It can't possibly generate us because it has nothing to give us that it hasn't taken from us first. The problem is Republicans and Democrats seem to think that they can spend us to prosperity. They're both big spending parties. Let's neuter them both.
Rich, I always come back to you and Silicon Valley. You know it better than anybody that I know. You live there. You know the businesses and the people. Do they get it? Do they understand that they're the ones that create something? It's not the government that does it.
Well, you know, they don't have a lot of political sophistication out here, despite you know, there being geniuses in math and software and stuff like that. You know, they're very libertarian on economic growth, but they support Democrats. Who knows why?
And, Steve, it's the same out here on the East Coast. I mean, you have Wall Street, a large section of Wall Street supporting Hillary, even though she supports all these rules and regulations.
Yeah, it's hoping that if you pay the wolf won't eat you. But the wolf has an endless appetite, and those sheeps are going to get eaten. Lamb chops coming up.
Bruce, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I will give Ted Cruz a Christmas present. I'm headed to the Rose Bowl with about the entire state of Iowa next week. And I would say that
you're gonna
Cruz
lose,
will
Bruce.
beat Trump Cruz will beat Trump by 10 points.
Okay.
You're as wrong on that as you are on economics.
You know, it's easy to talk politics here, but it's very difficult to talk sports because we really begin to go at people's throats. But, John Tamny, finally, I'm just wondering whether the government is going to change. What is your prediction for 2016? Are we going to change? Are we going to go back to more sensible policy?
I think we are, simply because the electorate no longer trusts Republicans or Democrats. They voted gridlock, and as a result, Washington's doing a lot less. There's lots of conflict in Washington right now, and that's beautiful.
Okay, that's got to be the last word. That's a positive note to end on.